So the problem with the press is that you have an essentially anonymous writer, and you have an unclear audience to you many times too. And unlike a book, which is meant to be read front to back, and many people read it that way, no one reads a newspaper that way. So you have to have a strategy. You have to imagine how someone actually has read this newspaper. You have to have a strategy that's the generalized read. And then the other thing is that there are vast quantities of text. You could spend hours and hours if you said, I want you to read every word. No one does that. No one can do that. There are two ways that papers are read in 18th century France. They are read in bookstores. People get subscriptions to reading rooms in the back of bookstores, and they'll find a whole slew of newspapers. And then a lot of people subscribe. They get their own. Papers are incredibly expensive. For example, the Courrier d'Avignon, I think, costs 35 or 40 pounds a year. The average artisan in this period is going to make 200 pounds a year. The people who read them from the artisanal classes are going to read them as hand-me-downs, as paper that was used to wrap something and they read it again, or they might have some access to a reading room. Unfortunately, to date, for 18th century France, no one has really found a complete list of buyers for more than a couple of fugitive papers. What we generally have is a little information here and a little information there. And basically that's as you'd expect for something that costs this much. The social elite dominates. In fact, at the top of the economic spectrum, nobles vastly overrepresent themselves in terms of who buys these things. And then the next class would overrepresent itself a little bit less. By the time you get down to the merchants, they underrepresent themselves, even though they constitute an important part of the subscription list. Once you get beyond what French historians call the public, or what you might call the literate elite, virtually no one buys these papers. One of the most interesting things about the press is one of the first consumables, so they had to teach people to buy something that they were going to throw away. In other words, you have to eat, you have to have clothes, you know you're going to throw them away when they're threadbare, but most other items were bought forever. And so here they're buying an item whose obsolescence is built into it, and it takes a long time to convince people. So in fact, actually, we have a lot more copies of the press than anybody now would retain. People bound newspapers, saved them, stuck them on shelves the way they would a book, because in fact, the whole notion of consumption is an 18th century notion.